Welcome to the Wealth Tech Winner's Circle podcast. In this podcast, we break down the technology challenges that are impacting today's financial professionals. Our goal is to identify these challenges and potentially uncover solutions across tech integrations, adoption, emerging technology, evaluating solutions, and more. Through this content, we hope to help professionals avoid common pitfalls and move their services towards an award-winning strategy for 2020 and beyond. Hosted by Tim Welsh, President, Nexus Strategy, and consultant to the Wealthies.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wealth Tech Winner's Circle podcast. My name is Tim Welsh, and with me is Steve Leivent from SS&C Advent, responsible for the Black Diamond business. So, Steve, welcome, number one. And then number two, maybe tell us a little about yourself, what you do over there at SS&C. Maybe a fun fact about you that we may not know, and then what you're looking forward to in 2020 for the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me. Excited to be part of this series. A little bit about me. So I run the advisory focused business here at SS&C. What that means is about 90% of my time is spent with Black Diamond, which is the tip of the spear in that world in our organization. The other 10% is really interacting with clients that run some of our other portfolio management and wealth management tool sets across the business. They are in the business of advisory and wealth management. Fun fact about me, I'm sort of uninteresting. I have 3 elementary school age boys. So as a result, I don't really have any hobbies. My hobbies are doing stuff with them on the weekends and getting them out of the house so that they don't make my wife crazy, basically.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, terrific. So Black Diamond's known for its innovative tech. And in 2019, you all won the Wealthies Award for your client portal, a client experience. So maybe tell us a little about that initiative and what sort of the cool features that really you think kind of put you over the top in the very, very competitive category.
Yeah, no worries whatsoever. We are awfully excited about, the work that we have done and will continue to do to our client experience. We really do think that the world is changing to where, every consumer expects a digital interaction with their service providers. We feel like we're in a great position to help power advisors to provide that experience. And I would say the way that we think about it is not only are we focused on things like mobile first and a great end user experience, but I think when we think about how we can sort of differentiate in the market, what we try to do is come up with ways where we can allow the advisor to sort of relay the value that they bring to the relationship in a very personalized but scalable way. So, as an example, one of the features that, we're certainly very proud of is a feature called Timeline. It is a mechanism for advisors to communicate one-on-one with their clients through the portal. It's a way for them to sort of communicate one-to-many, sending things like an updated ADV or market commentary. And it's also a way for them to narrow down utilizing demographic data or holdings data in our system to be able to tailor a message to a subset of clients that might live in a certain city or might have a certain holding in some of their accounts that you want to be able to relay some information about. And so we're really excited about the platform, and we think the more users that access it sort of feeds the ecosystem and allows our advisors, who are our clients, to get more value out of the services they get from us.
Yeah, that's terrific. I definitely heard a lot of great accolades about that initiative. So maybe let's shift gears a little bit, talk bigger picture. When you look out at all of the users on the platform and you're talking to advisors every day, what do you think are some of their biggest challenges? And then maybe on the flip side of the coin, where there are opportunities?
Yeah, I'd say actually both of them are to some degree adoption. If you go in and visit, a wealth management firm around the country, when they go out and they invest a bunch of money in technology tools, whether it be wealth management or a trading system or a CRM, the biggest challenge that they have is sort of driving adoption within their teams, and then making sure that the feature set that's available to them is ultimately enabled. Right. The great thing about the world we live in today is technology providers like us, like our competitors, and like the folks that are in the parallel categories, they're rolling out features constantly. We as an example, we roll out new capabilities every 6 weeks. It ultimately becomes challenging for the end advisory firm to consume that data. And so what winds up happening is you're looking for features that actually exist in your current platform. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation with a client that, we go into their office to sit down with them, and they say, hey, I would love your platform if it just did this one thing. And it's great that we can go and, pull up the application, update the setting, and enable the capability. The challenge is, for advisory firm, kind of keeping on top of all the things their technology partners and vendors are doing. So that's probably the biggest challenge we see out in the marketplace is as, sort of technology shifts to this, fast evolving world that we're living in these days.
Yeah, terrific. Totally think you're right on top of that issue. But along those lines, do you think advisors are looking at their tech stack? I also heard a lot of other people call it a tech pile, but do you think it's strategically views, or are they just reacting to what's new and available? What's your sense out there, and maybe what's some advice you might give?
I think it's a little bit of both depending on the firm. I think the best firms are looking at their technology stack strategically. And when I say the best firms, I mean those that have an eye up to growth, recognize that the platform that their employees, advisors, and clients ultimately run on, it can be the chassis for that growth. They are being very purposeful in these tools that they're selecting and how they talk together. I think the best thing to do, very honestly, is there's a lot of industry information available out there about the various tool sets. Advice I would give is talk to your custodian or talk to a third-party consultant about, how to make these things work together really well. And, they can certainly help guide you to other firms that have gone down this path, have chosen tools, and ultimately have made them, a meaningful part of their business. That feels like, to me, going out and talking to peers in the industry is always the best way to go and get advice on how you should be constructing your tech stack so it doesn't turn into a tech pile.
Well done. Well said. It seems to me that the client experience seems to be a unifying theme for just about everybody these days. And, I think when we talk tech, we mean a digital touch point on that client experience, that journey from prospect to client to raving fan to hopefully offering referrals. Clearly you guys are in that business. What's sort of your take on that whole client experience and how technology can really try to, streamline some of this regulatory paperwork we have and just more of a, an Amazon-like experience for wealth management?
Yeah, I'll shift it a little bit and give you a relevant example. So think today, in kind of a not technologically advanced world, if you have a client that, is looking to withdraw some cash, right? The workflow typically is a phone call or an email followed by a phone call to validate that it's a legitimate email, a note that's put into the CRM, or maybe worst case scenario, a Post-it note that is written on and, put on somebody's computer monitor in order to exercise the raising of cash and then ultimately the wire. I think, some of the things that we can do, as an example, would be allowing the end client to, start that activity directly from their mobile device in our digital experience, right? So imagine a world where now your face or your fingerprint is actually the, sort of the token for, that message to go over to your advisor. An alert is generated in our application. It then kicks off an alert in the rebalancer that tells you that you need to raise some cash. And then you can ultimately go as far as raising some cash and executing on the wire sort of all digitally. And all of that data can then be stored both in our system and a CRM. So you have a digital record of it as well. So I think that's kind of what consumers are expecting these days, right? The last time I had to walk into a bank in order to get cash was a long time ago. The last time I had to make a phone call to do a financial transaction was probably a decade ago. We think that RIAs and advisors are looking for those same experiences that they can leverage and put out in front of their clients. A different way of answering your question, but I think that's a relevant example in the way that, we're sort of reshaping the landscape of client touches.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It is a different world, and hopefully these innovations are starting to, really seep into the workflows on both sides. So it is much easier. Along those lines, I've coined this phrase, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Peak Robo. Have we hit the peak of the robots and the advisors working together, complementary? I think initially the angst was about being maybe replaced by a robot. But, from your point of view, where do you see sort of this automation /human approach to wealth management, the advice delivery? And are there roles for both to play?
I think there are. I mean, I think what has happened is a couple of things. Number one, I think, I'm not sure I'd call it peak Robo. I think from a generational perspective, the comfort level with interacting with a digital solution as your primary sort of advice mechanism, a younger generation is more comfortable with it, right? And so I think what that will translate into is, whereas somebody that's a Gen X like me, once they hit some threshold of assets, they feel like they need to call an advisor and get some human advice. I can see a world in which you fast forward 10 years and that threshold, maybe it's, in assets or age, that threshold is going to increase, right? Because I think people are more comfortable, interacting with the direct to consumer Robo and similar automated financial solutions. I think from an advisor perspective, I don't think the wealth management advisory business is going away anytime soon though, right? So, once those individuals hit a certain threshold, they're going to want to talk to a human, right? There are things like, education planning and, thinking about, trust and estate planning and insurance needs and wills and things that you're going to want to talk to a financial professional about. I think, from the advisor's perspective, what they've gotten from Robos, they're not going to replace them anytime soon, but they have recognized the capabilities for, how well you can sort of automate some of the operational processes in your business. Right? Think about rebalancing as an example. That's the perfect one. For the most part, you can let a rebalancing program almost run on autopilot to make sure that your clients are, staying within the, the agreed upon model or investment protocol. And then, from time to time, you'd want to be able to jump in and provide that additional value for things like tax loss harvesting. But I do think, what advisors have gotten out of the Robo world is they've recognized the benefit of automating operational processes. I think that, we're really just at the beginning of that stage. And you will see platforms like ours and other capabilities in the marketplace that will truly, sort of outsource and automate lots and lots of the, investment processes that an advisor goes through today.
Yep, I think you're absolutely right on that point for sure. Let's dig a little deeper. There's also in the hype world, artificial intelligence, AI. We've heard a lot about that. There seems to be some great use cases in wealth management, but we just haven't seen anything really deliver. What's your point of view on that? Are you guys working on some AI? What can we expect to see?
So the answer is yes, we are working on some AI. It's probably going to stay within our operations for some time. I think part of the reason why you don't see, things materialize in the marketplace is because the scale and data set that you need to realistically, have machine learning work doesn't exist in lots of these platforms yet. Talking about, millions and millions of accounts and, tens of millions of transactions that you'd ultimately need to be able to get meaningful insights from the data. So where we are using it, and we will continue to make advancements here, are things like our outsourced reconciliation process. Right? We have 2.5 million accounts that flow through our system every day. Lots of them come from, the top 4 RIA custodians. And so what we're able to do is we're able to take a look at trend data across that account set, and we're then able to take a look at what actions humans are required to make in order to reconcile that data. And now our systems are serving up recommended changes, right? So we are rolling out some machine learning, some RPA, and the idea here is that we should be able to reduce the human intervention in an outsourced operations process significantly with better results. And we'll continue to make strides there. It won't make it to the front office quite yet, but the quality of the data will be what ultimately does show up.
Yeah, I think it's a great example of where AI is. I think more on the back office, and then as it evolves and moves to the front office. So yeah, great points there. Along those lines, what are some of the other big trends that you guys are looking at? I know there's always been this issue of demographics. Advisors are getting older, clients are living longer. Any other big trends like that you guys are looking at? And maybe where's the next opportunity for tech to help smooth out some of these big macro issues that are popping up?
I would say mobile first everywhere, both from the end investor as well as the advisor. When we rolled out our new native apps, the login data, and that was about 9 months ago or so, or the login data that we saw in a purely mobile way versus desktop became exponential within a couple of weeks, right? So it totally took over the traditional desktop logins. people are looking to be able to transact and get data on their phones. I don't think in our space, that folks have sort of kept up in the same way that they have in the direct-to-consumer businesses. I think that's a big one that, folks are sort of not highlighting as much as they should. The other big one I would say is, absolutely, we spend a lot of time, working with the aggregators in the space. We're obviously watching, what's happening in that sort of phase of consolidation in the wealth management RIA world. And how we can, help lend some solutions to make those transitions easier. Right? We think that's a theme that will continue for some time, and there will, over the next, decade or so, there will be a handful of mega RIAs that will emerge as a result. And we think that, the constant tuck-in and acquisition process and implementation that these firms need to do, both to onboard to the firm and the technology onboarding, we can do a lot to help with that latter piece of making sure that the technology is easy to consume and ultimately sort of helps them with that aspect of the implementations.
Yeah, you definitely sort of anticipated my next sort of question line here, which is about consolidation. It seems like every day we're reading headlines of mergers and big companies gobbling up other big companies, and same not only on the broker-dealer or the custodian side, but also on the technology side. Where do the advisors fall out on this? What should they be thinking about as they look to partner with their core business partners as this consolidation is accelerating?
Yeah, I think what we've seen to some degree is that if you're running modern day technology in your practice, that is one of the things that makes everything easier, right? You're more attractive to a potential acquirer. The tuck-in to their business tends to be simpler. I think that, this trend is not going to stop, as I mentioned. I ultimately think it is a good thing for the advisory wealth management business, right? We all know the facts that, 40% of advisors are anticipated to retire in the next decade. And so how do we make sure that, those clients are served well? We think some of these really large firms that are in the business of aggregating and rolling up other RIAs are really well situated to help train and educate the next generation of advisors to ensure that, this industry lives on and we have enough people in order to be able to support the kind of transition of wealth that's going to be happening. And so I ultimately think this is a good thing for the industry. And I would say as a potential acquirer, making sure that, your technology stack is one that would be attractive to a potential acquirer, not only will help the integration, it will also help with the valuation.
Yeah, fantastic advice. I think that's right on point for sure. We are in the year of 2020, the year of vision. So as you look out for the next calendar year, what can we expect to see from the good folks at Black Diamond?
I would say you're going to see us continue to accelerate in the areas that we're best known for, right? That is the probably the easiest way to say it. We launched a rebalancer a year and a half ago at this point. In a fairly short amount of time, it's been adopted by about 25% of our client base. We want to make sure that it is an absolute class-leading capability, and we are going to invest in it to make sure we get there. Number two, we've always been known for our client portal, our investor experience, and our advisor experience. That is an area that we're going to continue to make sure we're the absolute leader in. We think that it's table. You have to have a digital investor experience as part of your solution. Everyone is looking for that. Firms are going to want to partner with the best there. And we feel like, we fit the bill. And then I would say the third area, which gets interesting, is we've spent the last couple of months sort of, looking around the rest of SS&C. And there are some pretty interesting capabilities, that we can bring to market for firms that ultimately would add value. My favorite one is, as you might know, we are the world's largest fund administration business across both private equity and hedge funds. Well, we've now made a data connection to our fund admin. So the firms that we work with that are running private fund of funds and also run Black Diamond, if they are using us as a combined solution, we have the ability to not only feed in all of the LP data electronically, things like capital calls and NAV updates, but we can also actually feed in things like K1s and capital call documents directly into the client portal. And so this way, you're really giving your end clients a one-stop shop for 100% of their financial needs, and you're removing the labor that tends to exist in the back office to make sure alternatives are accurately reflected in the wealth management system. And so that's just one example of several that we're actively working on and have clients actively subscribing to. More to come on that, over the next year. But that is one of the distinct advantages of being part of this organization that caters to financial services in every vertical.
Yeah, terrific. Can't wait to see some of that stuff come online for sure. So shameless plug for the Wealthies 2020 coming up this fall in September. So what maybe we might see from you guys in terms of a nomination for your next award-winning submission?
So I would say, in alignment with what I just talked about, you should expect that we're going to put up our rebalancer again this year. We're going to put up our client experience again this year, i.e. our client portal, and absolutely we will put ourselves up again for the best portfolio accounting or wealth management system. We're looking at the other categories. You might see us pop up in a few others as well, but without a doubt, you should see those three, and Black Diamond will be represented.
Fantastic. Hey, Steve, so much. Thanks for your time talking to our great readers and listeners out there. So signing off with Steve Leivent from SS&C.
Good deal. Thanks a lot, Tim.
This content has been made for information and educational purposes only. The views and opinions represent the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views and opinions of wealthmanagement.com.